Hello, I am working on recording myself reading Waiting for Normal, which is a book that my students and I were reading before we were um, not allowed to go back to school. And we have several chapters to go, and I really just wanted to make sure they at least got to know the ending of the book. And so I decided to um, read aloud and record. And so I think most of my classes were about at the same place. I just kind of wanted to backtrack one chapter to make sure we all had our minds back into where we left off. So this chapter is chapter 37 and it's entitled A Visit from Grandio. I poured water into the poinsettia plant Dwight had given us. I watched Mommer's cigarette butts float up and sink down again in the pot. The plant was still gorgeous. I knew I should clean the butts out, but I didn't want to touch them. Now I know you guys are all thinking, we've already read this. If we were together, that's exactly what you'd be saying. But just to get ourselves kind of reminded, remembering, thinking back about what we've read about. From the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of blue at the picture window. I went closer and watched Mommer stepping over the snow and into the footprints I had made in previous days. She burst in through the door. Those people are getting weirder and weirder. She pointed toward the mini mart with her thumb. Now they're trying to sell snow in winter. Oh, the avalanche? It's a joke. I did that, I told her, and it's been there for days. Yeah, so what's your point? You've been gone for days, I said. Oh, don't give me that. Mommers glanced around the inside of the trailer. She turned her palms up. Anything fall off this tin can while I was gone? Did the pipes burst? Did you run out of food? No, I said. Well, okay then. She pushed at her hair and started going through the mail. Did Dwight's check come? Yeah, it's there. It's early. Where? She seemed annoyed. I reached and slid the envelope out of the pile of junk mail. I pushed it toward her. Oh, good, she sighed. She tore it open. We need to go grocery shopping, I said. We're out of everything, and Piccolo needs food. I've been giving her cereal and carrots. Her poop is getting messy. Make a list, she answered, flapping a hand at me, but only what you really need. What's that mean? Well, she said, her voice high and too cute for comfort, we're in a little pinch. It's just temporary. We'll catch up. Mommers. Pete just got a little mad about the last credit card bill. I worked it out with him, but we're a little short on cash. How short? Mind your business, Addison. She looked closely at Dwight's check for the first time. There was a second of silence, and then she started to swear. She banged the table with her fist. What? I said. What's wrong? He post-dated it. I can't cash it until the first. But that's when he usually sends it, I said. Yeah, but if he's going to send it, why not just date it early? I can't cash it until when? She looked at the calendar. Thursday. She slammed the table again. Dwight loves this. He loves it when things don't go right for me. It's not enough he took my babies. He's got to mess up my entire life. What am I going to tell Pete? She covered her face with her hands. While Mommers was away, it was easy to be mad at her. But now that she was home and upset and crying, I felt bad for her again. Her hair was in tangles, and she was smearing her mascara. Then I reminded myself, she always does this. Addie, she sniffed and started to smile again. You could ask your big friend at the mini mart to cash the check. She could just hold on to it until Thursday. Mommers wore a sell it to me grin. I don't know, I said. I didn't want Sula to know that Mommers had money problems. Addie, Mommers leaned toward me. Don't you want to eat? What about the little fur ball over there? She pointed to Pick's cage. And what about me? Come on, what's important? Fine, I'll ask her. Okay, go now. Go, go, go. Here, take the check and show it to her. Tell her Dwight is good for it. His checks never bounce. If she says yes, come back and I'll sign it over to her. Of course, Sula agreed. Mommer signed the check over to the mini mart and we got our cash. But I wondered how long it'd be before there would be more problems. As it was, she only came home with half the stuff on my grocery list. Still, it was a good thing we had some food in the house because when the weekend came, Grandio stopped by. Mommers would have screamed him off the porch if she'd been home, but she wasn't. Dwight asked me to check in, Grandio said in that gravelly voice of his. He pushed his way inside. He'd be here himself if the truck was running. The babies have fevers, and he didn't want to leave Hannah without a car. Everything okay? He glanced around. Brenna and Katie are sick. Sorry, that's a question. Brenna and Katie are sick? Just the flu. Phone working? He lifted the receiver and put it to his ear. Yep, things were great. I smiled, but he didn't look at me. Well, what's the deal with the answering machine? Dwight says he's leaving messages, but you and your mother don't call back. He looked at me sternly. I shrugged, held my breath. Grandia looked in the fridge, opened a cupboard, and poked a few of the cans and boxes with his thick finger. Well, you need anything, girl? No, sir, I said. All right, then. I'll call Dwight and let him know everything is all right. Thanks for stopping, Grandio. I watched him get back into his car. He gunned it too hard and spun out on the icy snow patches. I put on my coat and went out to give him a push. I'd pushed Mommers out that same morning. Grandio waved me off. I got it. Go back inside. If you say so, I mumbled, and I did what he said. I listened at the door as he rocked the car and spun the wheels. I sighed. Dwight always said Grandio just liked doing things for himself. Mommers said he was a controlling old poop. I guess they were both right. I listened to his tires singing for another minute. Then he was gone. I heard myself breathe. Gone for now, I told Piccolo. But you and me, pal, were on notice. I knew Dwight would send Grandio by again if he didn't just show up himself. I definitely remember reading this with you all because I know a lot of you had good ideas about the idea of the tires singing and how they make a high-pitched sound. And then we talked about what it meant to be on notice, and all of you were right. It means that she needs to be prepared because Dwight or Grandio might come back and check in on them again. And we talked about too how she's protecting her mom. She loves her mom, and she's kind of afraid of maybe something happening bad, and she doesn't want to tell on her mom because she's afraid something might happen to her mom, I guess. The next chapter is entitled Valentine Hearts, and it hasn't been too long since we had Valentine's Day, so we're kind of following a similar pattern of the school year, I guess you could say, with Addie. This is chapter 38. On Valentine's Day, I walked out of school with Helena and found Dwight out front. He was leaning on the truck. He grinned when he saw me and stood up. Shoot, I muttered. That's my stepfather. I had not told Helena much about my family situation, just that I had decided not to spend time up in Lake George anymore. Oh, I guess he came to you this time, Helena said. Guess so, I answered. Do you want me to stay while you talk to him? She offered. That creeped me out a little, like somehow I'd given her the idea that Dwight was some kind of dangerous weirdo that I shouldn't be alone with. No, I said. It's fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Helena walked away down Knott, and I watched her go for a second before I went to Dwight. Hey, he called. Hi, I said. He pulled a pair of rumpled construction paper valentines out from under the flap of his jacket. A pair of Cupids sent me, he said. These are from the Littles. I didn't answer. Oh, and I got you something. He took an entire roll of lunch tickets from his pocket and handed them to me. What did you do? Go inside the school to buy these. What did you do? Go inside the school to buy these? It's the second question. Yeah, he said, and I talked to your principal for a minute. Why? Everything is fine. I wrinkled my nose. It seemed funny to think of him being involved in my school stuff now, even though there was a time when he'd been a part of every parent-teacher conference. I just wondered if they had any concerns. Did they? I mean, I'm sure Mommers would know if they did. No, they're crazy about you. Far as they can tell me anyway, he said. He paused, drummed his fingers on the side of his truck. Of course, they wouldn't discuss much since, well, you know. Anyway, did you want to tell me about the flute? I shifted my feet. You couldn't have done anything about it, I shrugged. I just wanted to take care of it. It's over with. I'm glad. He nodded. He didn't seem surprised to hear me say that. What if we take a walk 1 block over to Union Street? Got time? I sighed a big complaining sigh. I guess so. On the way, Dwight held out a little plastic card. Wonder what that is. Little plastic card. This is a bank card. I want to show you how to use it in case you ever need money, he said. I won't ever need it, I said, but he pressed the card at me anyway. 1263, he said. It's easy to remember your age. Then Brenna's, then Katie's. I almost laughed because it seemed as if he'd forgotten that we'd eventually get older. We walked up to the money machine at the Union Street Bank. Using the card was pretty easy. The machine told me what to do. I keep a couple of $100 in this account, he explained, but it's probably safest if you just take 20 or 40 at a time, okay? And never use the machine at night. Daylight only. It's safer. Okay, I said, but I won't need it. He ignored me. This is the hardest part, he said. He drew his hand across his chin. I need to do something wrong to do something right. Can you understand that? I wonder what Dwight is talking about here. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. I'm asking you to keep the card a secret. Don't tell Mommers, and absolutely do not give her the code. This is for you, and it's for emergencies. Fine, I said. Good. Dwight smiled. So how about an ice cream sundae while we get caught up a little? I shook my head no. I set my jaw so it wouldn't quiver. Go home, Dwight. Now that's in italics, so we know that usually means that the character is thinking, right? So she's thinking, go home, Dwight. I think she's afraid she's going to cry or that she's just going to like blurt everything out or she's just going to have to tell him the truth. But you've got a school vacation week coming up. Think the buses are running? Think Mommers will let you come up? I'll even come get you. I didn't answer. I towed a chunk of ice that had frozen to the sidewalk. Okay, Addie, what's going on here? Why don't you want to come up? He said. I kicked harder, and the ice broke loose and went sliding away like a hockey puck. It isn't not wanting to, I said. Well, then what? I don't get it. Wasn't Christmas good? Did I miss something? Talk about missing something. I missed them so badly I couldn't hardly stand it. Now we know, because we read this earlier, that Addie said, I just can't keep doing this. I can't keep going back to Dwight's and then back to the trailer with Mommers because it's such a big transition for her. It's like the perfect life, and now she's kind of like living on her own and her mom's not coming home and all that. But she won't tell Dwight the truth. She says, no, nobody did anything wrong, I said. I took a deep breath and the cool air burned inside my chest. I just can't keep going up there and do all this good-timey stuff. It's not for real. You're right. Christmas seemed good. It did. He thought for a moment. I avoided eye contact, but then it was over and coming home felt bad, he asked. I couldn't answer. Brenna and Katie keep asking for you. They need to see you, and I think you need to see them too. I can just talk to them on the phone, I said. No, not enough, he said flatly. We're your family. Depends on how you look at it, I said, knowing I sounded snotty. Dwight grabbed my coat at the shoulders and tried to get his face right in my face. Hey, what's this all about? He whispered. His eyes pinked up, and I looked away. Nothing, I choked. I just can't pretend stuff anymore. I shook my head. I'm too old to pretend stuff. I'm not resilient, Dwight. I'm really not. Oh, Addie. Dwight let go of my coat and reached to hug me, but I backed up fast and shook my head harder. No, don't, I squeaked. Okay, he whispered. There was a long silence between us. Well, not true silence. The city kept happening around us. People passed us. The traffic moved up Union Street. I pulled terrible, skipping breaths into my chest, and I wondered if anyone noticed us standing there. Did they wonder why a man and a girl would seem to be having a disagreement right on the street? Dwight covered his mouth with his hand, drew his fingers along his chin, and kept sighing through his nose. Don't you have to get back? I finally said. Don't forget it's Valentine's Day. He nodded slowly. I guess so. But Addie, we're done with this. We're not done with this. Oops. Well, I think we are. We have to be, I mumbled. I turned and headed down Union. Dwight followed behind me. When we got to the truck, he gave me a ride to the trailer. He didn't come inside, thank goodness. Just went around back to check on the electrical hookup. I followed him as much to keep him out of the trailer as anything. He said it was good to keep the snow cleared around the connection. I said I'd tell Mommers. Then I said goodbye to him. No hug. That was awful, but it was the right thing to do now. I bet that was hard for Addie. I bet she really wanted to hug Dwight. That's what I'm thinking. And, um, oh, I forgot my thought. Oh, I know what it was. I kept thinking about the title of this book and how we're all waiting for normal, even more now because of this whole coronavirus thing, and how we can't even have school. So we're trying to find a way to keep some sort of normalcy in our lives. And I think that's another way that we can all relate to Addie, because her life has been full of ups and downs and roller coaster rides and all that. And now I'm sure we've all had our share of different things that have been our own waiting for normal situations. But now we can all have one that we have in common, because we're waiting to get back to our what we thought was normal um, before all this happened. Moving on. Inside the trailer, I slipped Dwight's bank card into one pocket of my electric blue duffel bag. I rolled the duffel up small as I could, and stuffed it into the back of my closet. Perfect, huh, Piccolo? Two things I won't be using, so they might as well be in the same place. I thought about how Dwight had given me the lunch tickets, how he'd come all the way down to Schenectady to make sure I was all right. I thought about how mean I'd been. I looked at Pick again and said, but I had to be mean. I flopped on my back in my bunk. I put my feet up in the air and stretched my toes up till they reached the ceiling. In my mind, I kept seeing the end, my little sisters on the snowy hill, Hannah throwing her braid back as she stood at the doorway, and Dwight strapping on his tool belt for work in the morning. I saw a table spread for dinner. Their table, not mine. I said. I pushed back tears. Okay, now, I am not going to become some weenie-headed crybaby over this. I gently drummed on Pick's cage with my finger. You get it, Pick? I wiped my nose on my sleeve. Besides, we'll be fine. We have a home, and Mommers always makes it back before the food runs out. I went into the kitchen and did another cupboard check, even though I already knew exactly what was there. I called it out loud for Piccolo: one box of mac and cheese, one brownie mix, one bag of goldfish crackers, one empty Cheerios box. I kept it in there just for show. That's an interesting strategy, isn't it? The empty Cheerios box. Maybe that was something that Grandio saw, and it made it seem like there was even more food there. Addie is so smart. I moved on to the cans. 2 tomato soups, 1 chicken noodle. I opened the refrigerator. 1 stick of butter, 1 can diet soda, 1 jar pickles. And now for the hamster pantry. I turned and went to the closet, half a bag of seed and an almost full box of alfalfa blend. Well, Pick, given the size of me and the size of you, if food is wealth, you're the queen today, I said. But if Grandio comes back, we're both in trouble. I remembered how he had poked at the boxes of food with his finger. That empty Cheerios box is a problem, I said, hopping off the bunk. I took the box down, and after rummaging around the trailer, finally stuffed it with a rolled-up magazine. Now, why would she do that? I bet she's trying to make it seem heavier, like there's actually Cheerios in it. The magazine filled the box and made it look full of cereal again. That gave me another idea. I checked the paper trash. I found 2 flattened mac and cheese boxes and put them back together with a glue stick from Mommer's office supplies. Then I filled the boxes full of plastic push pins that she had never even opened. I shook the boxes. Hey, 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 Piccolo. How do you like that? Sounds like real macaronis to me. I shook again and danced a little cha-cha. I suddenly felt better than I had all day. I pulled the rumpled valentines from my sisters out of my jacket pocket. I smoothed them out and just stared at them for a minute. They were sweet, good decorations, so I taped them to the paper shade I'd given to Mama for Christmas. Then I cut a chain of hearts from an old newspaper and hung those up too. I heated a can of tomato soup for my Valentine's supper and floated a little pat of butter on the top of it for good looks and richer taste. Elliot taught me that. I poured a little bit of piccolo seed right onto my bed cover. I let her come out and sit next to me. I sipped my soup, and Piccolo filled her cheeks until her face looked like a puffy Valentine heart. And that is the end of chapter 38. 39 is really short, so I might go ahead and read that one now, and then we'll stop here before we take a little break, maybe, and start a new video. I wish I could hear some of your thoughts and some of the ideas that you have about what's going on and how you feel about it, but you can leave comments, I guess, and I can read those. That would be kind of a cool way for us to talk. One thing that I'm thinking about is how sad all this makes me for Addie, because I know that she really wants to be with her sisters and Dwight and Hannah, but she feels this responsibility to take care of her mother, and I think she knows that if she tells the truth about her mother not coming back or being left alone for so long, that something bad could happen to her mother, or that she would definitely not be able to stay there with her mom and make sure she's okay. Let's go ahead and read this chapter. Chapter 39 is pretty short, and then we'll stop and pick up another day. The Gush in My Gut. That is a weird title. The Gush in My Gut. Or Goosh. It actually is Goosh in My Gut. All my worrying about the February vacation snag was for nothing. Mommers happened to be home the night Dwight called, and she flat out refused to let him have me. Of course she did that just to rip Dwight, but I was relieved that there wasn't a fight over it. I wondered if that meant that Dwight wouldn't ask again. I ignored the gush in my gut. I guess gush is the better word. Mommers and I put away the groceries together. I counted meals as we worked. 1 jar of applesauce goes with 2 cans of baked beans and makes 4 meals. 1 loaf of bread is 18 slices, including the heels. Hey, you must be mooching off your friends at the Chubby Mart. Mommers elbowed me and giggled. There's still a lot of macaronis in here. She shook the box. Not really, I said. They're fakes. I just did it to make the cupboards look full, in case Grandio comes up again. Now she tells Mommers the truth, doesn't she? Jack? Jack was here, inside? He's got no business coming through my place. Mommers insisted. You can tell him no. You know that. Mommers, it was Grandio, not some axe murderer. What did he want with us anyway? Mommers asked. Well, Dwight sent him because he was worried about us. Yeah, right. Dwight's so worried he put us up in this dump in the first place. If he's got a guilty conscience, it's because he deserves one. Mommers simmered on and on. Finally, she sat down with a diet soda and lit a cigarette. Isn't that bad for your baby? I asked. What? The baby you don't think I should be having? I shrugged. She took a puff. I'm going to quit. I'm just nervous right now. Are you staying? I asked. I'm here tonight, she said. Can you make something for dinner? My feet are killing me. Now remember, this is Mommer saying this to Addie. She thunked one foot, then the other up onto a chair and sighed cigarette smoke out her nose. I forgot how much being pregnant takes it out of me. Sure, I said. I'll get dinner. And that's the end of chapter 39. The next chapter is entitled Fiesta Night. And it starts, I'll just tell you what the sentence that it starts with is, and you have to wait till next time. It says, Sula had been having energy problems. Now think about that. Fiesta Night is the title. And I hope you're all doing well, and I look forward to sharing the next part with you. Have a good day.